Friends, welcome to somewhere between Murfreesboro and Franklin, Tennessee, taking the long way back to Nissan North America and potentially to see one of my favorite radio show hosts. And we're doing so in the 2017 Nissan Armada, so I thought it would be a fantastic idea to answer some of your questions. So let's jump into an Ask MotoMan. Now, right from the top, let's start with a question that will most likely raise my blood pressure. And this question comes in from Joe Bruno, and I believe he is in Pennsylvania. But his question on its face is simple enough. He has a family of 5, and he's looking for a conveyance for everyone. His choices are, and I'm shocked he's asking me about this, he wants a minivan. He wants either an Odyssey or a Chrysler Pacifica. Now, on its face, the question seems simple enough, right? But something tells me you guys like asking me questions about FCA just to see my blood boil. Now, rather than me do that here again, I'll put a link here and you can see my prediction on FCA in another Ask MotoMan segment, so you can see my blood boil there. But really, to answer Joe's question, I need to tell you a story. Now, behind the scenes, you guys probably know this is my show. I own this, I started this. But there is a board that helps me run this from a strategic, from a business planning point of view, from a legal point of view. It's 3 people, and one of them is a lawyer. He's also happens to be a very good friend of mine, aside from being a very fancy New York lawyer. And I say fancy New York lawyer as the Polizei goes by here. I think it's funny, I bring up the lawyer and there's a sheriff. Anyway, let me press on. But fancy lawyer aside, he's in New York. He doesn't need a car, and he's not really a car guy even though he makes a pile of dough. So for the longest time, he's owned a Toyota Corolla or something like that. He had it in university, his undergrad, before he went for his JD, and then he got married, he even had 1 kid, and they kept the car because they live in New York City, they don't need a fancy car. Well, things started to change, and about 5 years ago they had a second kid, and they were moving out to the burbs. So they needed something not fancy, but bigger, that can grow with the family. So his wife, she really wanted a Honda Odyssey. Well, he talked to me, and I'm like, no, don't get a minivan. You need yourself a Buick Enclave. I mean, I couldn't tell a friend of mine to get like a block car, and I really like the Buick, as you guys know, especially the Enclave because it's good looking, it's screwed together, so I thought, very well, it's got good fuel economy, and it will grow as they're gonna have more kids. They now have actually 3 kids, and there is a mother-in-law that lives with them now. So you really need a lot of space in a vehicle, and I thought that would be a great choice. And they're not gonna put a lot of miles on it. Well, fast forward to only a couple of months ago, the car is now a little over 5 years, and no joke, maybe 2 months out of the warranty. The axle, the front axle, whether it's the CV joint or the whole axle, had to be replaced. So he didn't even think twice about it. He went and just had it done. So whatever that was, $1,500 on a 5-year-old car with less than, I want to say it has less than 50,000 miles because all it's done is suburban New Jersey driving. Yes, he moved to New Jersey, and I'm not pleased about this. But then, like 2 months later, there's another problem with the car. It won't pass inspection. They bring it in. Now the other axle is screwed up, and one of the cylinders is scored, and like the whole engine needs to be redone on a car with like 50,000 miles. Now you could imagine his wife already doesn't like me because I got him to go with the Buick she didn't want. She wanted the Honda. And now they've got a car that has, they're asking for like $5,000 or $6,000 to fix this 5-year-old Buick with less than 60,000 miles. So at this point, my, very busy, fancy attorney friend and board member is calling me and like, what is wrong with this thing? Now, I never like to give advice on buying cars to personal friends of mine because you guys know, if you're watching this show, you are probably the car guy in your group. So if you give advice and they actually follow it, you realize you are like the official warranty depot of that car for the rest of its life. But as you can imagine, this was different because not only is he a personal friend of mine, he is helping me grow my business and has done so very well. So at this point, I not only feel like I need to help him, I feel like a moron because his wife hates me, and I feel like I really took ownership of the Buick because you guys know I have a soft spot in my heart for Buick and American cars. So here I am, what do? So I call General Motors. I'm like, guys, I never nag you about this kind of stuff, but this is kind of ridiculous. A car that's never been in an accident, has less than 60,000 miles on it, and it needs a new engine, and this is the second time the axles need to be replaced? This is really out of the realm of possibility. And to GM's credit, they actually agreed with me and thought it was a very odd situation as well. So they actually took the time, like my guy called the regional manager guy, which called the dealer, and they kind of talked through it. And long and short of the story, they kind of took ownership of it. And so my friend, he didn't get stuck with really the whole bill. In the end, they didn't really cover everything, and actually the dealer took up most of the slack. So it was like General Motors took up 2,500 of it, and I think the dealer took 1,000 of it. So my buddy only had to pay like 600 to fix the car. Now you're probably wondering, what the hell does this story have to do with Joe's minivan question? Well, it has everything to do with Joe's minivan question. I inserted my car guy principles and a little bit of nostalgia from my growing up years to my friend the lawyer's now family, and it kind of came back to bite him and me in the ass, and it cost him a little bit of time, a little bit of aggravation, cost me some aggravation, and there were some dollars exchanged as well. Now, that's why I'm going to answer your question a little bit differently. Now, before this whole Buick incident, I probably would have steered you to something like one of those Buick Lambda triplets, or something more like crossover-esque. But now what I'm going to say to you is a couple of things. The family, when you're basically dealing with transporting 5 people, and your wife is probably going to weigh into this decision, reliability takes more precedence over my car guy values. So I probably would put a Honda, a Toyota, a Hyundai, or a Kia at the top of the list because of this incident with the Buick. And believe me, it pains me not to suggest a Buick or a General Motors car because I have this great nostalgia and affinity for them. So this is an instance where I'm kind of changing my tune a little bit here based on the use of the vehicle. Now, that said, what specific vehicle should you buy? Why not this one I'm in right now? Why do you absolutely need a minivan? No matter what lesson I have learned from suggesting certain cars to certain friends of mine over the years, I am still never, ever, 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 ever going to suggest you get a minivan because not that I am the pinnacle of relationship advice, but marriage is a bit of a give and take, Joe. And yes, this is probably going to be your wife's car and for the whole family to transport to, I don't know, family vacations, going to soccer meets, whatever you do with the kids. You also want it to be somewhat fun to drive. And a vehicle like this, granted, it's not as fuel efficient as a minivan, but it'll hold everything a minivan will and probably do a lot more, like go off-road. And here's the real kicker. This 2017 Armada I'm in is about the same price as a very fancy Pacifica, definitely the same price as a very fancy Honda Odyssey. If you don't want to go this high, highly, 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 highly suggest a Kia Sorento, a Hyundai Santa Fe, and I would suggest those wholeheartedly without any issues of warranty claims or problems with the car down the road. As you can imagine, I'm a little gun shy. So to sum up Joe's question, there's a couple of points here. Number one, prize reliability over fanciness or even my car guy attributes. Number two, I'm shocked you would ask me to suggest a minivan because I will never do that. Please look at some of the other choices I just suggested. And number three, also take into account before you decide on that Pacifica, if you go that way, the problem we had with the Buick is, I think, an anomaly. I think the Buick is probably a very reliable vehicle. My buddy probably just got a bad one. Chrysler, if you look at Consumer Reports, you look at any type of real-world test on those vehicles, I don't care if it's a Pacifica or even my beloved Challenger, their reliability not great. And then you've got the other issue of where I think FCA is going. So I'd really caution you against the Pacifica, even though even I have to admit, They did a hell of a job with that vehicle, and I know I just had dinner with Ralph and Doris not but 2-3 weeks ago. They're very proud of it, and they really did do some really cool stuff. But again, everything is reliability, and then all the other pieces I'm talking about are secondary to that. Now, as we get into one of the fancier suburbs of Nashville here, Brentwood, Tennessee, let's go to a question from a very old friend of the show, also from Saudi Arabia, Amro. He is a major SRT, AMG, and Cadillac fan, and he poses a question, which I think is a great question. What do I think will be the future flagship of Cadillac? Do I think it's going to be an Escalade? Very short answer, Amro, no, absolutely not. Now, I say this for a couple of reasons. Number one, competition. If you look at what Audi, Mercedes, and even Lexus as of late is doing, none of their flagship cars, or really what you're asking for is a halo car, none of them is a crossover or an SUV. And yeah, an SUV or a crossover, they are the best-selling cars in all of those lineups. And actually, huge news, Nissan said to my face that the Rogue will most likely start outselling the Altima. That is very big news, and we'll probably talk about that in a separate episode. But a halo car, it's designed for a couple of things. It's designed, number one, to get people's imagination going, and that's not just yours, but the designers in the company as well. And then number two, it's designed to get people into showrooms, meaning there's like something sexy about it, something you want about it, but maybe not something entirely realistic. Get it? And number three, they're not really designed to be for everyone. Like, you look at that new Lexus, that hybrid coupe, man, I am excited to drive that. And you guys know I am not a Lexus guy, but that thing looks Santa Maria Madre de Dios. I love it. It looks like a real concept car that goes on the street, but it's not for everyone. So what happens is you go into the showroom, you look at it, you ogle it, you say, that is lovely, and you end up buying an ES350 or most likely an RX350. So Cadillac needs that eye candy in the showroom. Now, if I were a betting man, I would say that for Cadillac, it's going to be something closer to the El Mirage than the Escala. I think the Escala will come to life as a competitor to the A7, which is what it looks like, and that's why it's not that imaginative looking. It looks very realistic and can go to production. Where the El Mirage also looks realistic and can go to production, but oh my God, that car, you want it when you immediately see it. And I've shown it, like I did my own straw poll and showed it to like non-car people, guys and girls, and everyone loved it. And even after they found out it was a Cadillac. So I think that's where Cadillac is going. Who knows? They could surprise us and do the CL. Now that would be a halo car. The next question comes from Dave Traveler, and he is located in Chicago. And he has a bit of a dilemma. He drives 80 miles round trip every day, commutes from the northern suburbs of Chicago, I'm assuming down to the city. God bless you, man. And he wants either an X5, a Range Rover Sport, or the ML, or really the GLE 250 diesel. So I want to say two things here. Number one, what you're doing is you're taking $50,000, $60,000 and you are absolutely turning it into just zero asset value because you're putting so much money on the road. I mean, that's 25,000 miles a year. In 4 years, you can have a car worth probably 10 grand. Number two, I did suggest this in another episode, that people that are putting this kind of miles on it, I suggest this to James Bond in a previous Ask MotoMan, and I'll link it up here, that you should buy the vehicle a year or two old, find one with very low miles on it, and get the best deal you can, and then drive it only like a year or two, and then sell it. So this way, when it gets to the point of normal miles, you sell the vehicle, and this way you're always turning around this, let's call it $30,000. You're always turning it around on your commuter car, and you're not losing a lot of money. Yes, there's more to it than that, but the general concept is always be on the lookout to own the car for about 2 years, buy it about 2 years old, that has very low miles, and sell it when it's normal miles. In this way, you're not depreciating so much money. The other way to do it, and probably what I would do, is I'd buy a beater, man. I would move, but I would buy a beater. I'd buy like a beater with a heater Civic that you buy for like $5,000, beat the crap out of it. At some point, it's going to be scrap value for $2,500. So the most you're putting on the road at any one time is $2,500. That's probably what I would do. I wouldn't put so much money to commute. I would take that money and put it into like a fun car and have more fun with like a 911 Target S with a stick and make that be your fun car. Probably not the exact answer you were looking for, but I'm trying to answer this as what would I do, and hopefully this is a prudent answer for you as well. So with that, a recap on how to get your questions on the show. Send me a tweet, Instagram, or Facebook post with the hashtag AskMotoManTV, AskMotoManTV. And by the way, I love these little bridges and roads back here. AskMotoManTV and put your question in. And if you want to know, like, which car should I buy, or out of this choice, where do you live? What are you going to do with it? And how long do you want to keep that car? Okay, so with that, I want to turn this around to you guys, and I want to pose Amro's question to you, and I want this to be a lively discussion. And let's be very specific. What should Cadillac's Halo or flagship car be? And don't just tell me a choice between a CL, an El Mirage, or an Escala, whatever they call it. I want you to tell me specifically what type of car, like should it be a big convertible, should it be a big coupe, should it be an SUV, and then I also want you to go into propulsion systems. It should be electric, it should be like a super duper like 12 cylinder that Bob Lutz showed in the 16 cylinder that Bob Lutz showed years ago. Very specific details, because I want to share this with Clay, Frank, and all the guys at GM Design, because it'll turn into a lively discussion with all of us, and I'm sure spur some inspiration. So let me know in the comments below, or via our social media, MotoManTV all one word, MotoManTV all one word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And with that, I want to leave you with two things. Number one, make sure to download our fancy new mobile application, which you can download for free at Apple iTunes or Google Play. Oh, and by the way, we are live on 5 international airlines. And number two, I want to leave you with a fun fact. So I am here in Nashville, and we are not here to shoot a car, believe it or not. Actually, not even really to shoot this. We're here to build a house for Habitat for Humanity. Something I used to do in my university and fraternity days a lot. Truly loved it, and super excited to get out there and build tomorrow.